All right, it's homework time. Make sure you have your homework page out in front of you. It says that we're going to start reading To Kill a Mockingbird from the beginning of chapter 5. That's going to be on page 46. So find in your books the beginning of chapter 5. Your annotation task says to, as you read, consider that Scout was excited for school to end so she could play with Jem and Dill, but something is going to change for her. So be watching for what changes for Scout. She was so excited for school to end. Let's see what happens. I'm beginning to read on chapter 5. Make sure you take a look at the chart that has a lot of different words there. When you hear me say it, if you don't know what that means, you might look on your paper to see, and it'll help you understand. Here we go. Chapter 5. My nagging got the better of Jem eventually, as I knew it would, and to my relief we slowed down the game for a while. He still maintained, however, that Atticus hadn't said we couldn't, therefore we could. And if Atticus ever said we couldn't, Jem had thought of a way around it. He would simply change the names of the characters, and then we couldn't be accused of playing anything. Dill was in hearty agreement with this plan of action. Dill was becoming something of a trial anyway, following Jem about. He had asked me earlier in the summer to marry him, and then he promptly forgot about it. He staked me out, marked me as his property, said I was the only girl he would ever love, and then he neglected me. I beat him up twice, but it did no good. He only grew closer to Jem. They spent days together in the treehouse plotting and planning, calling me only when they needed a third party. But I kept aloof from their more foolhardy schemes for a while, and on pain of being called a girl, I spent most of the remaining twilights that summer sitting with Miss Maudie Atkinson on her front porch. Jem and I always enjoyed the free run of Miss Maudie's yard if we kept out of her azaleas. But our contract with her was not clearly defined. Until Jem and Dill excluded me from their plans, she was only another lady in the neighborhood, but a relatively benign presence. Our tacit treaty with Miss Maudie was that we could play on her lawn, eat her scuppernogs if we didn't jump on the arbor, and explore her vast back lot, terms so generous we seldom spoke to her. So careful were we to preserve the delicate balance of our relationship, but Jem and Dill drove me closer to her with their behavior. Miss Maudie hated her house. Time spent indoors was time wasted. She was a widow, a chameleon lady who worked in her flower beds in an old straw hat and men's overalls. But after her 5 o'clock bath, she would appear on the porch and reign over the street in magisterial beauty. She loved everything that grew in God's earth, even the weeds, with one exception. If she found a blade of nut grass in her yard, it was like the Second Battle of the Marne. She swooped down upon it with a tin tub and subjected it to blast from beneath with the poisonous substance she said was so powerful it'd kill us all if we didn't stand out of the way. "Why can't you just pull it up?" I asked after witnessing a prolonged campaign against a blade not 3 inches high. "Pull it up? Child, pull it up?" She picked up the limp sprout and squeezed her thumb up its tiny stalk. Microscopic grains oozed out. "Why, one sprig of nutgrass can ruin a whole yard. Look here. When it comes fall, this dries up and the wind blows it all over Maycomb County." Miss Maudie's face likened such an occurrence unto the Old Testament's pestilence. Her speech was crisp for a Maycomb County inhabitant. She called us all by our names, and when she grinned, she revealed 2-minute gold prong clipped to her eye teeth. And when I admired them and hoped I would have some eventually, she said, "Look here." With a click of her tongue, she thrust out her bridge work, a gesture of cordiality that cemented our friendship. Turning the page. Miss Maudie's benevolence extended to Jem and Dill whenever they paused in their pursuits. We reaped the benefits of a talent Miss Maudie had hitherto kept hidden from us. She made the best cakes in the neighborhood. When she was admitted into our confidence, every time she baked, she made a big cake and 3 little ones. She would call across the street, "Jem Finch, Scout Finch, Charles Baker Harris, come here." Our promptness was always rewarded. That's where we will pause. Go ahead and make sure you consider the annotations you made and answer the questions that follow. See you tomorrow.